Today, you're going to learn how to create morphing SVG page transition animations. Before we begin, this video sponsor is Bookmark.com, which is a free website builder that uses artificial intelligence to create websites right in front of your eyes. The entire process is less than 2 minutes, and it only consists of answering 7 simple questions. And if you need to sell stuff, you can create an online store very easily. It's really cool. I recommend it, so check out Bookmark.com today. Hey everyone, Gary Simon of Coursetro. So today we're going to take a look at using Anime.js to help us create SVG morphing based page transition animations. Boy, that's a mouthful. But this is what we're going to be creating, and you can see how the SVG itself is morphing, and just provides a very interesting sort of aesthetic. All right, so I'm not going to be using any of the major front-end JavaScript frameworks for this. I wanted to keep it framework or library agnostic, so we're just going to be using pure vanilla JavaScript. All right, going forward though, I do want to do this sort of thing with React, Angular, and Vue. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple. So for today's question, what software do you use to create SVGs? Is it something like Illustrator or Adobe XD even? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, and let's get started. All right, so I'm going to start here in Adobe XD, although you can use any type of vector drawing application that allows you to export SVG, such as Adobe Illustrator, to do this step. And it's going to be very simple. All we have to ask ourselves is, how many anchor points do we want our SVG graphic to be? And, how do we want it to look while it's coming down or transitioning into the next page or whatever? So I have the pen tool out here, and by the way, this is a Web 1920 preset, so when you go to open up Adobe XD, you can just choose that if you wish. And so I'm going to start here at the very upper left, and I'm going to come down here to the middle, kind of to get an idea of what I want it to look like when it's through the middle of the transition. All right, so I'm going to come just around here somewhere. I think... yeah, we'll do this. We'll make this a little bit more dynamic. Initially, I only had one anchor point here in the center, but I think we'll do 2 different Bezier curves. So I think that might end up being about 3. Yeah, 3 total anchor points coming out here in the middle. So I'm just holding Shift for this and left-clicking and dragging out. I'm not too concerned with it being perfect, and I can always adjust these afterwards. Oops. Yeah, something like right here. I probably will make adjustments to this. I'm just holding Shift now and then coming back up to the top. And just so we can see it better, I'm going to fill it in with a color. This isn't going to be the actual color. The only thing we're going to be taking from this are the SVG coordinates, and you'll see that in a second. Yeah, something like that. All right. I don't like this area over here. You can always adjust these. Let's see. If you hold Alt, you can control just the right portion of the Bezier or the left. That's fine. I'm not going to get too critical over this. So this will be, we're going to do basically a three-step SVG animation. This is the middle step, going from either, when it's all the way up here and you can't see it, and then when the user clicks on it, it's going to go to this step right here, and then also to a final step down here where it's just completely filled out. So it's a matter of adjusting these anchor points for the beginning and end so that you can't see it up here, and it's basically all on the same line, and then you can't see it down here either. All right, so what I want to do, I think a good approach possibly to tackling this is we're going to Control D to duplicate this, and we're going to do that one more time for the bottom. So what I'll do is take this, I'm going to take all these anchor points, hold Shift, and just drag them up. Just like this. All right, so now they essentially cannot be seen. If you do see a little bit like that at the top, that's okay. You could still use CSS to hide it or use opacity or something like that. So then what we'll do is I'm going to take this, duplicate that, drag this down. So I'm just dragging these all down. And it does snap at the end so that you can get right there. All right, so there's a plugin for Adobe XD, and it is plugins. Let's go to Manage Plugins. Type, let's go to All Plugins and type in SVG. And it's called Copy SVG Code, so you can install that. Then you just select your SVG graphic and hold Control, Alt, and C, and that will run it. Or you can just go directly to the plugin through the plugins menu over here, and it will just close it. For some reason, it doesn't show me the output. I don't know what that is, if that's an error or something, but it does copy it to your clipboard. So if I go to here and paste it into like Notepad, we'll see the coordinates right here. All right, so that's the coordinate for the middle coordinate. What we'll do is copy just this. I'm just going to make a note here. Middle is that. And then we'll do this one. Again, Control, Alt, and C. Close. Top. Now, one thing to note is when you're working with these SVGs, as I found, because I do not have extensive experience in this, I was just messing around with it recently, I found that, Control-C, sometimes the animations won't work as you anticipate. So it may require going back in and make adjustments after the fact. So we'll see. We'll worry about that after. All right, so that's it. All right, and here's Visual Studio Code, the code editor, free from Microsoft. I have a blank folder, empty folder called Morph Trans that I've opened this up into. So let's create an index.html file. And again, as I mentioned before, I'm not making this specifically like any of the three big JavaScript frameworks or libraries like React, Vue, and Angular. I'm going to do that later. I want to do the vanilla JavaScript and just simple straight up HTML, a little bit of Sass, and that's it. Because I know some people will complain about that, so don't worry, I'll do those in the future. We're going to link up a style sheet in a folder called CSS, a file called main.css. Let's create that. Main.sass right here, and we'll click on watch Sass. Once that comes up, it's an extension you can install. All right, that's all good. And all right, so the first thing that I want to do real quickly is get in our Anime.js or CSS anim.js file. Sorry, I'm looking off screen on my other thing. I'm using, we're going to be, for this using, I'm also going to be using, just to show you how to do it, the animate.css animation library. So just so you can quickly integrate it and add it to elements or whatever to make them come up. We're going to do that on the button that comes up. And then also to make everything work in Morph the SVG, we're going to be using the anim.js. So you can, of course, install that through npm if you want, if you have a more robust project. But for this, we're just going to link the CDN version, which is right here. All right, and you can always just go to Google and type anim.js CDN to get that quickly, or from different sources. I'm just going to call this Morph Transition. There we go. All right, and then also, just to save time while we're here, I'm going to do the same thing, except this is going to be a link URL here, a style sheet, and it's hosted at a CDN as well for that animate.css. All right, this step is not necessary. If you want to handle making the animations yourself, you're completely free to do so. I just wanted to show how these two can obviously very easily work together. All right, so now what we're going to do is create our SVG element. All right, so SVG, oh, it doesn't actually give me the tag there. So SVG ID, we're going to call this morph so we can reference this. Height, we're going to say 100%, and width is going to be 100%. And our view box is going to be the initial 2 values of the 4 values are going to be starting at 0, 0. And then what we want to denote is the actual size of the SVG graphic itself. And so if you come over here and we click on this one, the full position, we'll see the size, which is basically 1920 by 1080. So that's what we're going to put for that value. All right. And then we also want to put preserve aspect ratio is none. So these attributes right here are going to allow it so that it really fills out the browser as it's supposed to for this effect. All right. Then we're going to have a path of class equals morph. And then we're going to put d equals and make that empty for now. These are going to be the coordinates of our SVG graphic. And then our fill, I'm going to give it a specific color code of 002E3A and end it right there. All right, so the initial value that we want, if we come back to the Notepad document, is our top value. But I want to see what this looks like just with the middle value. All right, and it's not going to look correct yet because we haven't applied CSS to it. Before we do that, though, I'm going to put in a section with an ID of sect1 for section 1, and then also h1, give me a clicky, and then also a paragraph, go already, click it here. All right, and then finally our last element is going to be a button, all right, with an ID of button click, and then tappy tappy. All right. So we're going to have a second section, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So now what we can do, I'm not going to worry about the JavaScript just yet. Let's go to our main Sass file. All right. And I'm clumping these together probably unnecessarily. I did this quite quickly. Margin 0, padding, we're going to put 5 EM. I'm not making this responsive. I don't want to waste time. I'm going through the responsive rule sets and all that. Box sizing, border box. Width is going to be 100%. Height, 100%. Font family will be Montserrat. And I have this installed on my system, so I don't have to import it. And then the background, we're just going to make this color code 9EEBCD. Next up, we're going to have our morph. Let's see here. We're going to reference this and make sure this is working. We're going to put in, just our morph selector, and then our width is 100%. So this is in reference to the SVG element itself. Height is 100%. We're going to start at the top and left at 0. The position is going to be absolute. Just allow it to hover over different elements, our section element, and then pointer events, we're going to put none. And what this does is if we don't add pointer events none to this, it won't allow us to click on the button that gets the transaction to start from top to bottom. So pointer events none fixes that problem. You can experiment by removing that yourself just to see what exactly that does. After here, we're going to have our section. Position is going to be absolute as well. Then our H1 elements. And again, nothing too crazy is happening here, so I'm going to just simply paste this in. I don't want to waste time. And then also our button, I'm going to paste this in as well. Nothing exciting is happening here with the button that we've contained. We have a background, a margin, nothing exciting. We're going to have a button 2 style as well beneath that, but I'm not worried about that. And I think that's good for now. So let's save that. I'm going to go to Control B, take this, right click, open with live server, and there we go. So this is what it looks like initially, but remember, I didn't put the initial the right value in just because I wanted to see and make sure everything's working correctly, and it is. So we're going to take this value instead, and at this point we shouldn't see it. So we'll come back to right here, paste that in, save it, and there we go. All right, so obviously nothing works. So let's integrate some JavaScript here. And again, pure vanilla JavaScript, nothing too scary here. Script. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is create some variables. And what I'm going to do, again, I'm not going to worry about typing this all out. Initially, these variables, just is going to be one for our BTN or the button click ID right here. There's a second button that we haven't yet created or defined in the HTML, so I'll just cancel that one out. We have our section 1, but not yet the section 2, and we have our overlay, which is in reference to the morph ID up here, the SVG. After that, what we're going to do is, this is where we get into our Anime.js. So var morphing equals anim. We open up an object, and first property is targets. So we want this to apply to the morph class right here. All right, and then we're going to put in an array of objects right here, denoted as D. All right, and D, of course, is the attribute. All right, so what we put inside of here is what this initial value will end up animating to, and you can put as many steps as you want. All right, so we're just going to have 2 of the steps from the middle portion. Right now it's at the top, and then the middle, and then bottom. So we're going to open this up in an object value, and then we put the middle value right here and separate with a comma, Shift Alt down, and there we go. So now we just have to paste in those other 2 values and hope it works. Sometimes it doesn't when you're working with the SVG software, and depending on how you're adjusting the anchor points. Let's do the second one. We'll put this one right here. After this, we put a comma, we put another property. We can add easing into this. It definitely makes it more interesting. There's a lot of different easing options that you can choose from when it comes to anime or Anime.js, not anime. I keep on saying anime. And then Quint. All right, EaseInOut Quint. There are several that you can choose. Let me go off screen real quick, and I'll show you the list. So if you just go to the GitHub page here for Anime.js and go all the way down, you'll see right there. These are all the options that you can choose for easing in and easing out and ease in and out right here. So experiment with them. They could definitely change the feel and the flow of the animation taking place. So they're really cool. All right. Now, after that, we're going to put in, let's see here, a delay. All right, the delay function, actually, we're going to leave out delay. I don't want a delay. So we're just going to put duration. We're going to say 1300 milliseconds or 1.3 seconds. And then loop is going to be false. We obviously don't want it to loop. And we're also going to put autoplay false. However, initially, I'm going to comment that out, just because I want to see this working right when we refresh the browser. Otherwise, we're going to put this back if we want to activate it based on a click event. So we'll save that here, and we'll see if it worked. Okay, and of course, it didn't. Now notice over here to the right how it looks like it's combining these anchor points. And if this doesn't look smooth because it's kind of going fast on my screen, it does look smooth on mine, but the frame rate of the video may make it look a little bit choppy and not good. So what I'm going to do is just go back to Adobe XD, And I believe it's happening right down here. And I believe I've kind of pinpointed the issue before. So if I take this, all right, save it. There we go. Awesome. All right, so now let's make it so that, first of all, this shouldn't happen. You can see how the cursor's changing. We can still access that other button and all that stuff, good stuff. We're gonna fix that real quickly as well. So what we'll do is we're gonna go to, we're going to create just a click event listeners on our button. So our BTN element right here. So coming down, by the way, we'll make this autoplay false. All right, so we'll put in our button, add event listener, and we're going to add a click event, the function, and inside of here, we're going to put in overlay dot class list, and this allows us to add classes, CSS classes, one called pointer. And that's on our overlay, which is in I can't talk, in reference to our morph SVG element right here. All right, so we have to create a class called pointer. All right, so the pointer, it's just a very simple class. We'll just put pointer is pointer events auto. All right, so let's go back. We have to do a couple other things, obviously. I forgot. In this same click event, we have to actually make this run. So the way we do that is we created a variable called morphing set to the anim function or method, and we're going to put in morphing.restart. Now, there's also a couple other ones that you can use, different methods. Play seems like play would work, but I found that when we're going back and forth in a little bit for the second click event, which we haven't added yet, restart actually worked because it was not working correctly before. So there we go. So now what we'll do is add in that second section. So I'm just going to copy this real quickly. This is going to be sec2. Get that formatted better. And this HTML is just going to have a button, and that's it. So this button will be go back, and the ID is going to be button 2 click. This will be sec2. Let's create that rule set that I mentioned before for that second button, and I'm simply going to paste in a rule set for that along with a hover. And that's it right here. All right. Also, we're going to add in a rule set for our sect2 ID. All right. So initially, we're displaying none because we don't want to see that until it comes up and shows after the transition has occurred. Position absolute, z-index2 to make sure it sits on top of the SVG overlay. And then we're just setting the width at 50. And then one final rule set, and this is the last bit of CSS. We're going to create one just called display to say display block, and we're going to apply this class, or we're going to add this class through JavaScript to make this appear. All right, so we'll save that. We're going to come down, and inside of our button right here, we're going to have one more, which let's go up here and comment these out. So we have our button 2 and our section right here. And we're going to type in, let's see here, we'll do sec2.class list, and we're going to add multiple classes. So we separate by comma here. Animated, display. Also, we're going to put flip in Y. And this is a class that's available from our animate, our animate.css All right, so if you go to Google and type Anime.js, you'll see all the different classes that you can use for that. And then we're also going to make a delay by 1 second. Well, you know what? I'm going to remove that initially, just so you can see why we're adding that. All right, and then also at this point, let's check it out. See, it comes too quickly, so that's why I want to add the delay. And this is also another class that comes from Anime.css that just allows you, to control when the animation will take place. Now it should come in. And that silly little animation, of course, is based on flip in Y. All right, so now let's create a button to click here. So let me save myself some coding time and paste this. And this one is just simply going to be morphing reverse. So that's going to go through this right here, these values, and just simply reverse them. All right, and then also morphing dot play. You would think you only need just this reverse for it to enact, but that's not so, unfortunately. Also, we're going to put in overlay dot class list dot remove, and this is going to be, we're going to remove the pointer class. So we're just kind of reverting the steps. I should have just copied that there. And we're going to change this to remove as well, and we're just going to remove all of these. So let's save it. And there we go. All right, so hopefully you found that useful. If you have other techniques to implement this, please let me know in the comments. Also, answer today's question, which is which software do you use to create SVGs? All right, see you guys soon. Bye.